Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgotten why you went there? Or tried to remember a name just seconds after hearing it, only to realize it's already gone? You're not alone. Every day, millions of people struggle with forgetting simple things. Words, ideas, tasks, even important information they just learned. And most people believe one thing: I just have a bad memory. But what if that belief is completely wrong? What if I told you that your brain is not weak, not broken, and definitely not bad at remembering? The truth is, your brain is incredibly powerful. In fact, it is designed to remember far more than you think. The real problem is not your memory. It's how you are using it. Nobody ever teaches us how to remember properly. We go through school, we try to memorize things, we forget them, and we assume that's just the way it is. But it doesn't have to be that way. Think about this for a moment. You can remember your favorite song lyrics from years ago. You can remember a powerful moment from your childhood. You can even remember small details from emotional experiences. Why? Because your brain remembers what matters, what feels real, and what connects to something deeper. So the issue is not memory itself, it's the method. Many people believe that memory is linked to intelligence. They think that smart people naturally remember more while others struggle. But that's a myth. Memory is not a talent you're born with. It's a skill you build. Just like learning a language, playing a sport, or improving your communication, your memory can be trained and improved with the right techniques. Here's something even more interesting. Your brain does not like boring information. It doesn't remember random, dry, or meaningless data very well. Instead, it prefers patterns, images, emotions, and connections. When information feels alive, your brain holds on to it. When it feels dull, your brain lets it go. That's why you can watch a movie once and remember so much, but read a page from a book and forget most of it. So instead of blaming your memory, it's time to change your approach. Because once you understand how your brain really works, everything becomes easier. Learning becomes faster. Remembering becomes natural, and confidence starts to grow. In this video, you're going to discover simple but powerful techniques that can completely change the way you remember things. These are not complicated theories or difficult systems. These are practical methods used by top learners, students, and even memory champions around the world. And the best part is, you can start using them immediately. But before we jump into those techniques, there's one important step. You need to understand how memory actually works. Because when you understand the system, you can finally control it. Let's get started. Before you can improve your memory, you need to understand one simple truth. Your brain is not designed to remember everything. It is designed to remember what matters. And once you understand how this process works, you can start using it to your advantage. Memory works in 3 simple steps: encoding, storage, and retrieval. Don't worry, this sounds technical, but it's actually very easy to understand. Encoding is when you first take in information. For example, when you hear a new English word or read a sentence, your brain is encoding that information. But here's the problem. If you're not paying attention, or if the information feels boring, your brain doesn't encode it properly. And if it's not encoded well, it won't be remembered. The second step is storage. This is where your brain keeps the information. But your brain doesn't store everything equally. It prioritizes what seems important. If something feels meaningful, emotional, or interesting, Your brain stores it more strongly. That's why you can remember a funny story or an exciting moment so clearly, but forget something you studied just a few hours ago. The third step is retrieval. This is the ability to bring the information back when you need it. Have you ever felt like something is on the tip of your tongue, but you just can't remember it? That's a retrieval problem. The information is in your brain, but you don't have a strong connection to access it. Now here's where it gets interesting. Your brain loves three things: images, emotions, and repetition. These are the keys to strong memory. First, images. Your brain remembers pictures much better than words. If I say the word apple, you don't just see the word. You imagine a red apple in your mind. That image makes the memory stronger. This is why visual learning is so powerful. Second, emotions. When something makes you feel excited, surprised, or even scared, your brain marks it as important. That's why emotional moments stay in your memory for years. Emotion acts like glue. It helps information stick. Third, repetition. But not just repeating something again and again in a boring way. Your brain needs spaced repetition. This means reviewing information over time, not all at once. When you come back to something after a break, your brain strengthens that memory. Now let's talk about forgetting. Many people think forgetting is a problem, but actually, it's a natural and important process. Your brain is constantly filtering information. If it tried to remember everything, it would become overwhelmed. So it deletes what it thinks is unimportant. The problem is, sometimes it deletes things you actually want to remember because you didn't give it a reason to keep them. This is also why cramming doesn't work. When you try to learn everything in one short session, your brain gets overloaded. You might remember it for a few hours, but after that, most of it disappears. Real memory is built over time, not in a rush. Let's do something simple. Try to remember what you ate yesterday for breakfast. You might pause for a second, but then it comes back. Why? Because your brain stored it as a real experience. Now try to remember something you read quickly without focus. You probably can't. That's the difference between weak encoding and strong encoding. So the secret is not to force your brain to remember more. It's to give your brain better reasons to remember. When you make information visual, emotional, and repeated over time, your brain naturally holds on to it. And once you understand this, learning becomes much easier and faster. Now that you know how memory really works, it's time to move to the most exciting part. Powerful techniques you can use to remember anything faster and more effectively. Now that you understand how memory works, it's time to learn the real game changers. The techniques that can help you remember information faster and more effectively. These are simple methods, but when used correctly, they can completely transform the way your brain learns. Let's start with the first and most powerful technique: visualization. Your brain loves images. Words can be boring and easy to forget, but images are vivid and memorable. So instead of trying to remember plain information, turn it into a picture in your mind. For example, if you want to remember the word apple, don't just repeat the word. Imagine a big, shiny red apple in your hand. Make it detailed. Make it real. The clearer the image, the stronger the memory. Now let's move to the second technique: association. Your brain remembers new information better when it connects to something you already know. Think of it like building a bridge between the new and the familiar. For example, If you meet someone named Rose, you can imagine a rose flower on their head or in their hand. It might sound funny, but that's exactly why it works. The more unusual or creative the connection, the easier it is to remember. The third technique is chunking. Sometimes information feels overwhelming because it's too big. Chunking means breaking information into smaller, manageable parts. For example, instead of trying to remember a long number like 19472023, you can break it into chunks like 1947 and 2023. This makes it easier for your brain to process and store. This technique is especially useful when learning vocabulary, numbers, or complex ideas. Next is repetition, but not the boring kind. Most people try to remember by repeating something again and again in one sitting. But as you learned earlier, that doesn't work well. Instead, use spaced repetition. Review the information after some time, maybe after a few hours, then the next day, then after a few days. Each time you review, your brain strengthens the memory. This is one of the most effective ways to move information from short-term memory to long-term memory. Now here's a powerful technique that many people ignore: teaching others. If you really want to remember something, try to explain it to someone else. When you teach, your brain is forced to organize the information clearly. You begin to understand it deeply, not just memorize it. Even if you don't have someone to teach, you can pretend. Explain it out loud as if you are teaching a class. This simple habit can dramatically improve your memory. Let's look at a real-life example. Imagine you are learning new English vocabulary. Instead of just reading the word, you can visualize it, connect it to something familiar, break it into parts if needed, review it over time, and even use it in a sentence while speaking. Suddenly, one word becomes something your brain can easily remember. Or think about remembering names. When you meet someone, focus on their name, create a mental image, and connect it to something unique about their face or personality. Within seconds, you've created a strong memory instead of a weak one. The key idea here is simple. Don't just read or repeat. Interact with the information. Make it visual, make it connected, and make it active. These techniques may feel unusual at first, but with practice, they become natural. And once they do, you'll start noticing something amazing. You'll remember things faster, easier, and with much less effort. But there's something even more important than techniques. Because even the best methods won't work if your daily habits are working against you. So now, let's move to the next part: how your lifestyle and daily habits can either boost your memory or destroy it. Even the most powerful memory techniques won't reach their full potential if your daily habits are working against your brain. Memory isn't just about learning strategies. It's also about how you live, how you focus, and how you take care of your brain every single day. The good news? Small changes in your habits can create massive improvements in how well you remember everything. Let's start with one of the most important factors: sleep. Sleep is not a luxury. It's the foundation of memory. During deep sleep, your brain processes the information you learned during the day, consolidating it from short-term memory into long-term memory. Without enough sleep, your brain struggles to store new information, no matter how hard you try to memorize it. That's why pulling all-nighters rarely helps you remember anything. For better memory, aim for consistent, high-quality sleep each night. Even a short nap during the day can refresh your brain and boost memory retention. Next is focus and attention. Multitasking is the enemy of memory. When you divide your attention between multiple things, checking your phone while reading or listening to music with lyrics while studying, your brain can't encode information effectively. To remember something, you must first give it your full attention. Create a focused environment for learning, free from distractions. Even short, uninterrupted sessions of 20 to 30 minutes can be far more effective than hours of distracted study. Another crucial habit is healthy nutrition and hydration. Your brain needs fuel to function at its best. Nutrients like omega-3 fatty acids, antioxidants, and vitamins support brain health and memory. Drinking enough water is just as important. Dehydration can reduce focus, slow processing, and make it harder to recall information. Treat your brain like a high-performance engine. Give it the right fuel, and it will deliver amazing results. Now let's talk about practice and repetition. Memory improves not just through reading or listening, but through active recall. This means testing yourself regularly on what you want to remember. For example, if you're learning new English words, don't just read the word list repeatedly. Close the book and try to recall the words from memory. This simple habit strengthens neural connections, making information easier to retrieve later. Consistency is another powerful factor. Learning in short, regular intervals is far more effective than cramming once in a long, intense session. Even 15 to 30 minutes every day can build strong, lasting memories. Your brain adapts to habits, so daily practice, even small amounts, creates exponential improvement over time. The environment you study in also matters. A clean, quiet, and well-lit space helps your brain focus. Surroundings that are cluttered or chaotic force your brain to process unnecessary information, reducing memory efficiency. You can also use cues from your environment to strengthen memory. For instance, always reviewing vocabulary in the same place can help your brain link the location with the information. Improving recall. Finally, let's not forget the emotional aspect of learning. Motivation and mindset play a huge role in memory. When you're curious, excited, or emotionally invested, your brain releases chemicals that enhance memory encoding. That's why experiences that feel meaningful stick with you much longer than boring, forced learning. Make learning engaging and enjoyable. Turn study sessions into games, challenges, or stories whenever possible. By adopting these habits, sleep, focus, nutrition, active practice, consistency, and an engaging environment, you are creating the perfect conditions for your memory to thrive. Think of it as preparing the soil before planting seeds. Even the best seeds won't grow in poor soil, but in fertile conditions, they flourish effortlessly. Once you combine these habits with the memory techniques we discussed earlier, visualization, association, chunking, repetition, and teaching, you have a system that can make remembering anything faster, easier, and more reliable than ever. In the next section, we'll bring everything together into a simple, actionable system that you can start using immediately. This system will show you exactly how to learn, remember, and recall information efficiently every single day. Now that you've learned the core principles of how memory works, the powerful techniques to enhance it, and the daily habits that fuel it, it's time to bring everything together. Let's create a simple, practical system that will allow you to remember anything faster, more efficiently, and reliably. This system is not theoretical, it's actionable, easy to follow, and designed for real life. Step 1. Understand the information fully. The first step in remembering anything is to truly understand it. Memory works best when your brain can make sense of the information. If you try to memorize without comprehension, your brain struggles to create strong connections and the information slips away quickly. So, whether you're learning a new English word, a formula, or a concept, take the time to grasp its meaning. Ask yourself questions like, why does this matter? How does it connect to something I already know? Understanding is the foundation. Without it, everything else will be much harder. Step 2. Turn information into images. As we discussed earlier, your brain remembers images far better than words. So, after you understand the information, visualize it. Create vivid mental pictures that represent the knowledge you want to retain. For vocabulary, imagine the word as a literal image. If the word is mountain, picture yourself climbing a massive, snowy mountain. For abstract concepts, turn them into stories or symbols that make sense to you. The more detailed, colorful, and unusual the image, the stronger your memory will be. This technique turns dry information into something your brain actually wants to keep. Step 3. Create associations. Next, link the new information to something familiar. Associations act like mental hooks, connecting new knowledge to your existing memory network. For example, if you want to remember someone's name, let's say Olivia, think of a friend, a celebrity, or a vivid image that relates to the name. Maybe you imagine Olivia holding a bright, glowing book that you'll never forget. The connection doesn't need to make logical sense. It can be funny, unusual, or even silly. The more unique the association, the more likely it is to stick. Step 4. Break information into chunks. If the material feels overwhelming, chunk it into smaller, manageable parts. Our brains can only hold so much information in short-term memory at once, so breaking things down is critical. For example, if you're memorizing a phone number, split it into sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0 is easier to remember than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Similarly, when learning a long text, divide it into paragraphs, key points, or small bullet points. Chunking not only makes it easier to memorize, but also makes retrieval faster and smoother. Step 5. Use active recall and spaced repetition. Once you've understood, visualized, associated, and chunked the information, it's time to review it in a smart way. This is where active recall and spaced repetition come into play. Active recall means testing yourself without looking at your notes, forcing your brain to pull the information out. For example, after learning 10 new English words, close the book and try to write or say them from memory. Spaced repetition takes this further. Review the material at increasing intervals. After a few hours, the next day, 3 days later, a week later. This strengthens the neural pathways and moves knowledge from short-term memory into long-term memory permanently. Step 6. Teach or explain the information. Another powerful step in your system is teaching. When you explain information to someone else, or even pretend to teach it aloud, you solidify your understanding and memory. Teaching forces your brain to organize the material logically, identify gaps in your knowledge, and reinforce connections. You don't need an audience. Even talking to yourself or imagining explaining to a friend works. This method is why teachers often remember lessons better than students. They've had to explain it repeatedly. Step 7. Apply the knowledge immediately. Memory strengthens when knowledge is used actively. After learning something, Find ways to apply it. If you've memorized new vocabulary, use it in sentences or conversations. If you're learning a concept, write examples, solve problems, or discuss it with someone. Application gives your brain context and purpose, which dramatically improves recall. Step 8. Combine memory techniques with daily habits. No memory system works in isolation. Combine the techniques above with healthy habits. Sleep well, eat brain-friendly foods, stay hydrated, and create focused learning sessions. Short, consistent study periods are far more effective than long, distracted sessions. Keep your environment organized and free from interruptions. Motivation matters too. Curiosity, interest, and emotional engagement supercharge your memory. Step 9. Monitor progress and adjust. Finally, track your memory progress. Notice what techniques work best for you and adjust as needed. Some people respond better to visualizations, others to associations or teaching. Experiment, refine, and develop a system that suits your brain. The key is consistency and awareness. Small improvements every day add up to incredible results over time. Let's summarize your complete memory system. Understand the information deeply. Visualize it vividly in your mind. Associate it with familiar ideas. Chunk large amounts into smaller pieces. Use active recall and spaced repetition to review. Teach or explain the knowledge to someone else. Apply what you learn immediately. Maintain healthy daily habits for your brain. Track and refine your progress. When you follow this system consistently, you'll notice something remarkable. Information becomes easier to remember, recall happens faster, and your confidence grows. You'll no longer fear forgetting names, vocabulary, or important study material. Your memory will feel sharper, more reliable, and more natural than ever before. The ultimate secret is this: your memory is a skill, not a fixed trait. Anyone can improve it, no matter your age, background, or previous struggles. All it takes is understanding, the right techniques, consistent practice, and a lifestyle that supports your brain. So start today. Pick one piece of information, follow this system, and watch as your memory transforms. Remember, your brain is capable of incredible things. You just need to guide it, feed it, and train it. And once you do, there's no limit to what you can remember and how fast you can learn. Your journey to a faster, stronger, and sharper memory begins now. Don't wait. Start practicing today and watch your memory and your life change forever.